We
Okay.
were doing some fixed rates. We were doing some arms, but not some of the stuff that, well, to be honest with you, the company from Detroit that you were talking about, they had like the smart arms or the,
Uh-huh.
where you
Yeah.
would pay a certain amount, but your principal of your balance of your loan just kept going up, kept going up.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin McIntosh, and of course, I have a very special guest on this episode. Joining us today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Brad Patrick. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing great, Kevin. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Another day, another episode, man. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
let's
excited to be on.
let's talk about you today. We want to get
All right.
into the mindset of Brad and the history of it. First and foremost, let's talk about your upbringings. Brad, tell us a little bit about your childhood, your adolescence growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Chesterfield, Michigan, way on the east side. Um, you know, pretty normal upbringing. I had sister, mom, dad. But my childhood basically was consumed with sports. Everything about me was about sports. I played a lot of football, played a little bit of baseball, and a lot of basketball. So my time was
Nice.
basically wrapped up in sports and a little bit of school here and there when I had time.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you I see that you end up going to Ferris State University. Did you play ball at Ferris State?
No, I wish I
No?
would have. It's one of those things where, at least tried, right? Or walked
Gotcha.
down or
Yeah.
something like that. But no, it wasn't. I wasn't at that level. I wish I was, but I chose to go to Ferris State, ironically, because originally it's pretty funny. A lot of people don't know this. Is my first was going to be an electronical engineering. That was the
Okay.
plan going to Ferris, and like, I don't know, probably about 30 seconds into it, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm a business major.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? You made that transition just that quickly? So you were
Yeah.
instantly thinking electrical engineering and just said no, because I see you got your bachelor's in advertising with a minor in marketing. You just
Yep.
switched over
So
to adversation?
yeah, switched over right away because I was taking prerequisite classes. I had a couple electronic engineering classes, and met some guys that were in the business program, and I really, really liked advertising and marketing. It was kind of my thing. I'm a people person. I really enjoy being creative, thinking outside the box, and kind of why I'm in the position I am right now, to be honest with you. And just took it all in, took the whole college life in. I was in a fraternity there. I was the president of my fraternity, Pi Kappa Alpha
Nice.
at Ferris State. Met a lot of great people. It's even guys that I talk to in a group text now with about 15 of us that we're talking every day, whether it's old school stuff or sports or golf or whatever it is. But I loved my time at Ferris State University, and just a great opportunity.
Those good old college days, man.
I had a great time up in Big Rapids,
Man,
that's for sure.
Didn't we all? So
Yep.
advertising and marketing being your concentrations in college, what
Yep.
did you want to do initially? Did you want to like make jingles or something?
No, so originally what my plan, yeah, that would have been awesome. Think back now, that's exactly where I would rather be right now. But my original idea, as I was going through school, was going to be to work at one of the larger advertising firms here in the Metro Detroit area. Campbell Ewald was a big company on the east side, and
Yep.
those were the company like working in doing advertising and marketing for the car companies. But I graduated in 2003, and if you know anything about that time, that's when the car industry was kind of a little slow, and a
Right.
lot of those jobs weren't hiring. And so it's kind of like into my, what we would call my second senior year, that my fifth year of college there.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And so I got a call from a guy in my fraternity, so a fraternity brother of mine who was the president of the alumni board. Okay.
Okay.
And what they would do is they'd send out an email and say, hey, who's graduating this year and who wants to do what, right? And I was on
Hmm.
that list, of course, of graduating. And he reached out to me, and we worked together because I was the president of the fraternity, and you work with the alumni association.
Right.
Basically, the alumni association calls you as the president, says, make sure you guys are good. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Those
Correct.
kind of
Yep.
things. And he said to me, he said, "Hey, I have an opportunity. I just opened a mortgage company. I really think this would be a good fit for you." And I remember walking on campus with 30 degrees and flip flops and thinking to myself, well, I don't know anything about mortgages. And he said, don't worry about it. I'll teach you everything you need to know. Just bring your personality and your love for meeting people, and uh, I'll teach you everything you need to know. And kind of was a wrap
Hmm.
from there. And that's coming right out of college. I went right into the
Yeah.
mortgage business, 100% commission. You know, you eat what you kill kind of situation. And I
Yes,
kind of hit
sir.
the ground running right away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, cool. So straight out of college, right into the mortgage industry. What was your exact position, role, responsibilities?
I was just a loan officer. I actually came in
Okay.
with 7 guys right out of college. We all started as like so quote unquote interns there at a
Hmm.
place out in Bloomfield Hills. Now, granted, I was from the east side, so to work in Bloomfield Hills for me was that I was
That's
like, holy
foreign.
cow, that's
I know.
far, right? But now
I
I
know.
drive to the east side every single day, show houses all day long. Like you don't even think about it now.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so I worked in Bloomfield Hills on Square Lake and Woodward for a company that a buddy of mine had owned, and we kind of just learned the business together. And it was a really really fun experience because, and I say this to a lot of people now, the way I was taught in that business is I was processing my own files, and a lot of
Hmm.
times that didn't happen back then because people had processes and they pay and everything. So I actually
Right.
learned the business from the back office to the front office,
There you go.
and so it allowed me to what kind of documents they needed, understanding the debt to income ratios,
Hmm.
understanding the types of loans, how you lock the loans, and
Yes,
and
sir.
that was a very integral part of my learning experience, is how I started from the back to the front. And I think
Mm.
nowadays most people start from the front and they never learn the back.
Because of
They have
technology for the most part. And
technology, they learn the process. I mean, I'm talking about rate sheets where they would be faxed over in the morning and you would go through it and then you
oh
highlight it,
man. No, it's an
and
app
then
for
you
that
had to
now, Brad.
add the oh, if it was a condo it's minus this, it's minus that, and then you had the scrap
uh,
sheet of paper, and man, they don't do that anymore. Now I
oh
remember when
man,
the automated
that's
system came out where you could like plug everything in, and I'm like, game changer, man,
I
game
know,
changer.
right?
What are we
Yeah,
gonna do with this
yeah.
fax machine now?
Tossy, it's a paperwork now, man.
Right.
How
Well,
long were you working in the mortgage industry before you turned over to being a real estate agent?
so I started in 2003 in the mortgage industry, and I was there for quite some time. So I had actually kind of gotten out of the business right as you had to get a license. So I was in there
Mm,
before you actually had to have a license. So when everything kind of like went
yep.
downhill into like
And they start to make their laws and stuff.
2006, 7
Six,
ish,
seven,
something.
eight. Yep.
Yeah, 8. I want to say around there. And that's when it really slowed down, and I
Mm-hmm.
had an opportunity to partner up with a friend of mine, and we ran a mortgage negotiation company. So we were helping people who were upside down in their mortgage, whether it's like early payoffs or finagling a way to get their payment down. So I did that for quite some time before then I went into the property management business. So,
Right.
it was a really good job because I was helping a lot of people in a very bad situation at the time. So it was kind of like a holdover process while everything kind of filtered its way out. But I
Yeah.
learned so much because I worked for a guy who is dynamic, and to this day he owns 8 restaurants in the Metro Detroit area and some in Miami, and that was a huge learning experience. I learned more of the business side of it as I ran the
Mm-hmm.
company. So every single step along my process, I can grab things that I've learned that it helped me to be successful in where I'm at today.
Yeah, man. See, I was in my former life, I was a mortgage loan originator for a popular company in Detroit. I won't name right now, but the point is,
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
know a lot about the law, the SAFE Act, the Frank Dye Act, and things of that nature that came into play around that time, 2000,
Yeah.
2008 ish. So a lot of things happened. So how did those laws and the things that happened during that housing crash of 2006 through 8, how did that alter your perspective of the
Well,
industry?
that was the part where I was at the mortgage negotiation company. So I wasn't writing loans in there.
Okay.
I kind of really didn't have to go through that as a mortgage loan originator. What I did is I then transitioned over into that um, the saving a home type
Right,
situation and
right,
the
right, right.
home, you know, debt consolidation, things like that. So that stuff didn't really affect me much.
Right, right. But I guess overall, I'm from the fact that you were writing loans and things of that nature prior to all of that, and I know the big thing that kind of caused that crash were the subprime
Yeah,
mortgages.
for sure.
Did you feel at any time like, I don't know if your lender or the lender you were working for was doing subprime mortgages, but knowing that they existed, did you feel like that was going to lead into that type of
Yeah,
effect, that housing crash?
for sure, for sure. And the other
Really,
thing
really.
too, well, in the stuff that I was doing, I was taught, and to be honest with you, I can't stress the amount of knowledge and experience that I had at my first mortgage company. Like our owner knew that was going to come, and he provided us with some
Mm.
great information, so we didn't put people in those situations. Like we
Okay.
were doing some fixed rates, we were doing some arms, but not some of the stuff that, well, to be honest with you, the company from Detroit that you were talking about, they had like the smart arms, or the,
Uh-huh.
where you
Yeah.
would pay a certain amount, but your principal of your balance of your loan just kept going up, and it was like,
Yeah.
this doesn't make sense. So I was taught at a very early
Got
age
you.
in this business that we're customer focused, and we have to look at the big picture as far as what the client is looking for, and what the end goal is, whether it's a debt consolidation for 2 or 3 years and then we turn around and refinance and put them in a 30-year fix. But the writing was on the wall. I mean, when we were, some cases we were writing no income, no asset. I mean, it was crazy back then, and
Right.
now I knew something had to change, and I'm glad it did, and that's why we're in a situation now. Because people ask me this all the time: is, do you think we're going to have another crash like that? And my
Mm.
answer is absolutely not. And because of the fact that we have such strict laws on this mortgage,
Correct. Correct.
and my interest rate is 2.3% on a 30-year fixed, like, I'm not going to have to worry about my house refinancing my house if I lose 10, 20, 30 grand, you know,
Right.
and that's where I think that these laws have helped so much to protect the mortgage industry, and why we won't see a huge crash like that, like we did in 2008, 2009.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, there's extensive training and tests you have to go through to be an MLO. Now, trust me, I failed that exam twice.
Well,
So I
and
know.
and rightfully so, right? Like,
Before I passed, yeah.
right, when I got into business, they were just like, "Yeah, go ahead, man, have at it." Like,
Yeah.
what? You're
Yeah.
protecting somebody's biggest asset,
Correct.
and
Correct.
you don't need any training. Like, it was the Wild West. It was
Man,
crazy,
it sounds so crazy nowadays. Like, I'm
right?
like, wait, what? You could have just did this without, man. Yeah,
Right.
different times. Different
Absolutely
times.
different times, for sure. But we've learned a
Yeah.
lot from our mistakes. That's for
Hmm.
sure, and that's why we're in the position we're in now.
For sure, for sure.
Hmm.
I do want to visit your experience as a property manager, but
Yeah, for
before
sure.
that, just with your knowledge as mortgages and you being a real estate agent also, do you feel like a agent can be successful without extensive knowledge of mortgages, or is that just because it's not part of their responsibilities that it really doesn't matter?
No, no. I think it's helpful. It's definitely
Hmm.
helpful. I think that it's helped me transition into to the agent world a lot better, because I
I
had
bet,
those
yeah.
previous clients. I've always been in contact with them. I had a very good database, and I had a very good understanding of how a mortgage works and what it is. Can an agent be successful without knowing that? For sure, absolutely. I 100%. And the way they can be successful is aligning themselves with a great mortgage person, that mortgage person kind of helps them out, teaches them the different types of loans, the different types of financing, what the debt to income ratio is, and what are some of the key things that, as you're showing people the houses, that they'll say, that you relay to your loan officer and say, hey, keep an eye out for this because they have, a car payment that's kind of high, or something along those lines, or they have a kid in school and they're taking on student loans for their son, or a college kid with student loans. There's so many different aspects to it. But can a real estate agent be successful without that? Yes. How they become successful is aligning themselves with great mortgage officers to help them learn that part of it.
Yeah, that sounds fair. And
Yeah.
that's the answer I expected.
Yep.
I just know with you having the knowledge that you have in mortgages, that definitely will give you an
Oh, it's
advantage
yeah,
from
for
my
sure.
perspective.
It's
Yeah,
absolutely 100% helpful. It
yeah.
absolutely is, because the different types of loans, the lingo. Because if you ever talk to a mortgage guy or a real estate guy, we throw out so many acronyms that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes a customer will be like, "Wait, what? What's with the DTI?
For real,
What's an
for real. Yep.
LO?" So learning and finding a way through those things is very helpful. But having that background, it's definitely been helpful for me. That's for sure.
100%, 100%. So, like we said, you spent time as a property manager in between the whole mortgage industry and being a real estate agent. Let's break that down right now. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
What is property? What is a property manager? And then what were your responsibilities?
Okay, so property management, with the property management company that I worked for, we basically managed about 450 houses in the Metro Detroit area. So an out-of-state investor or an investor would hire us to take over to handle the house, collect rent from the tenant, and do all the
Okay.
maintenance on there. So I was basically like the
Mm,
middleman. I was dealing directly with the investors or landlords or whatever, and then I had a staff that worked directly with the tenants, with payments and any issues and tenanting the properties. And then I had a back office maintenance company that would go out and do all the work and everything like that. So what I started doing is I started placing tenants and working with tenants and working with owners. And then when I started placing tenants, that's when I knew, okay, well, I need to get my real estate license in order to better understand this part of it. So then I got my real estate
mm.
license and working in that property management business. And that's a tough business, man. It really is. You're dealing with a lot of tenants. You're dealing with a lot of
Yeah.
owners. You have turnover in these houses. You're sending investors bills. So I learned so much in that business because I learned how to deal with tenants who sometimes are not exactly happy, or you know calming them down, and then dealing with investors. And then
Right.
the other thing too was like seeing through these some of these flip houses. That's something that I learned a lot. You walk into these houses and they have these pictures of all these beautiful houses and everything like that, but I can see through those pictures. I know exactly what these investors are trying to do, and that's why to this day I try to align myself with um, very good investors that do things the right way. The right
Okay.
way. And the thing about the property management is, if you don't do the things the right way, and that you constantly have problems with the house, you're going to constantly have tenant problems.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can imagine so. Let's
Right.
let's get into that then. Can you give me an example? Give us an example of
Yeah.
a difficult or challenging situation you had to deal with as a property management, a real life situation.
Oh man, put me on the spot here. I,
I-
I think I think the challenging issue is making the owner happy and making the tenant happy,
For
and try to
sure.
see that seamless. Like,
Yeah.
what can we do to make the tenant happy? We For them to continue to pay,
Mm-hmm.
and that is it. Like the harmony between the two, because sometimes as a landlord, you're just like, give me my money.
For
And the
sure.
tenant's like, I'd love to, but I need you to do X, Y, and Z because this is what was promised. And that was my job, is to make sure there was harmony between the both of them.
Yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah. Not only they want their money, but keep my property the way it was when you first got in there, which is I
Yeah.
know is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, we
Oh
could
my
talk about
goodness.
that for hours,
I know, right? I know.
but and sometimes tenants, they're tenants. They don't
Right.
they don't care about the property. It's just a roof over their head. They don't have that
Mm-hmm.
love as a homeowner that that I deal with now, which I enjoy much more.
Yeah, yeah, and of course they wouldn't. I wouldn't expect them to. I mean, you would expect them to respect the property as such,
Right.
but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
realistically,
You
no.
don't think about those small things like changing the furnace filter, or you know, leaving the water running when it's really cold outside so that the pipes don't freeze, or some
Hmm.
of those little things that as a homeowner we do every single day, but as a tenant you're like, that's not my responsibility. I just pay the rent and I sleep here. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
You come
know?
over here and fix it.
Yeah, right, right.
You also do business with your wife. Let's
Yes,
talk
I
about that
do.
also. Yeah,
Yeah.
what are some of the highlights and the hurdles of doing business with your wife?
Yeah, so I actually met my wife in on a real estate transaction. So my client bought a house that she had listed, and so that's how we met.
Okay.
And so once we started hanging out, and to be honest with you, eh, just learning from her. She had been in the business more longer than I have, and started in the real estate business. So
Mm.
at first we just kind of pick at each other's brain and kind of learn from each other, and then as that grew, we have very similar interests. We both like to golf. We're both very active, and kind of for me, I hope her too, but it was love at first sight for me, man. She is an amazing person.
Wouldn't it be crazy if she like, no, it took a little
Yeah,
while.
it probably did.
I get it.
I get it. She saw through my BS from day one. There's no doubt about it.
Don't they all? They see it through us all, bro.
Yep.
It's all good. Well,
But
that's
yeah,
good. That's yeah. Go ahead.
so
Go ahead.
we moved to KW a while back, and then we
Mm.
moved to another more brokerage, and then she came to me and said, I think this is a great opportunity for me to step out and open our own brokerage. And she said, I'm going to partner with Jen Tate, who I believe
Hmm.
you met actually just
Yes, we
yesterday.
did.
Who
Thank you,
you
Jen.
by after already having a conversation with her, you understand exactly why my wife wanted to partner up with her, right?
100%. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
She's just absolutely dynamic. They work
Hmm.
so well together. And she said, my wife came to me and said, you focus on our real estate business and I'm going to build this brand. And I said, I'm in. Let's do it. And
There
she
you
is
go.
both those women are just phenomenal. They now have 40 some agents that work here at Oak and Stone.
Whew.
So I know, right? And it's just great to see, because what I did is I literally quadrupled my business by meeting my wife. She taught me a lot. She
Ah,
helped me understand the business more. And so now I get to watch her do that for all the agents here in our brokerage. And that
talk
is
about
really
bringing
cool,
something to the table, man.
right?
Oh man,
Right?
that's a beautiful story. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Man, I mean I had to put a ring on it too, man. You helped me out like that. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's make this a lifetime.
Right,
That's what's
absolutely.
up.
So I've learned so much from her, and like, if she was to go into a listing appointment right now, and then I
Hmm.
went into the listing appointment right after, it would be mirror image. I've learned so much from her that it's just been helpful for me. And look, she's always there to check me, right? And
Mm.
sometimes we why we work so well together is because she's more of the paperwork, office, follow the rules. I'm a little more out there. I'm talking to people. I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get those deals done. So it's kind of the yin and yang kind of situation, and I think that's why we just make an amazing partnership. To be honest with you.
There you go. There you go. That's a perspective I don't think I've heard too often from husbands, man. So that's
I
kudos to you, man. Tip my hat off to you for that, man.
appreciate
So
it.
listen,
Appreciate it.
let's talk about some numbers in real estate. I got some
Yeah.
statistics coming from the National Association of Realtors and the U.S. Census Bureau. Census Bureau. I don't know, but anyway.
Census Bureau. Yeah.
Census
Right.
Bureau. First-time home buyers represented 31% of buyers in total across the country, unchanged from 1 month ago and up from 27% 1 year ago, although interest rates have remained the same or increased. Now, what factors do you believe led to more first-time home buyers entering the market despite interest rates?
To be honest with you, that stat actually blew my mind when you were in there. I didn't realize it was that high, and I think a lot of it has to do with some of these new programs that they have out, and creative programs,
Yeah.
and and to be honest with you, the way we market to people now, whether it's social media or all the different types like TikTok and Instagram and all those things with great realtors putting out great content to let these first time home buyers know here's the process that you need to take in order to get a home. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that is why you see that number so high right now, is because, hey, I'm watching a TikTok video, or I'm watching a YouTube short, and I got a guy named Ed Butler over here telling me how I can buy a house and with zero to little down, and here's how I do it. Or that's I say Ed Butler's name because he's one of my favorites. If you ever watch some of his videos,
Yeah.
he's one of my favorites. But we're given information, man. We're given information, and these people are kind of soaking it in. And then once we bring them into a good loan officer, they have such good creative programs that allow these first time home buyers to get help.
I,
So I think
I,
that has a lot to do with it.
I've heard that a few times, man. So I feel like that has a lot to do with it. I feel like that's a
Mm-hmm.
significant portion of it. So great,
Yep.
thanks for bringing that
Yep.
information. Got another one for you. 80% of recent sellers contacted only one agent before finding the right agent that they work with to sell their homes. Do you think sellers should inquire with more than one real estate agent when they're trying to
For
find out the
sure.
best choice?
For sure. And that number blew my mind too. I have a fortunate because, having the background in the mortgages and being in this business for almost 20, in this industry for almost 20 some years, I've been very fortunate to build a business on referrals, right? I don't buy leads or anything like that. So a lot of the people that I work with, I have some sort of like, hey, I've worked with somebody in the past. You've sold their house in the past. Like there's a house that I just have listed that called me from my sign the other day. You know what I mean? Like
Nice.
I've just getting my name out there, but I'm shocked that more people don't interview more agents because um, it's all about, yeah, there's a lot of good agents out there. There's a lot of bad agents out there, but
For
you
sure.
have to have a good personality fit too, right? Because we're going on a big journey, especially if you're using me to buy and sell. We have an occupancy or you're moving out of state. Like we're going to talk all the time, and we have to have a good communication, and we got to see eye to eye on everything. So I'm surprised that number is as high as it is. I would think that you should at least interview two or three agents to make sure it's a good fit.
For real. I mean, like
But
like
did
we
that
all
number
know.
did that number shock you as well? It had to have,
Absolutely. I mean,
right?
to be honest with you, it does, but it doesn't. And here's why. It does because I feel like you should definitely do your due diligence
For sure.
when you're about to make a big purchase like that. Yeah, you really should find somebody that you're going to be comfortable with, and that may inquire. That may take a little bit of time if you interview. But I'm also
Right.
not surprised because I know people are lazy. And I know
Right.
that's gonna ruffle
Right.
some feathers, but a lot of
No,
people will just either go
that's true.
with the first recommendation or the first thing they see on social media, and they'll just run with that because that's the
For
only
sure.
source of information that they receive.
Right.
So I'm kind of surprised, but I'm not shocked, but not surprised. Let's say that.
Makes sense, and I can get on board with that for sure. But don't get me wrong. There's been times where I've gotten calls where, hey, I tried to list my house. I wasn't working with my agent, and my first thing that I walk in there, because I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? Maybe the personality conflicts or something like that. Like, what did you not like about your agent? Tell me all those things
Mm,
first. What
there you
And if
go.
they come out, and I will defend somebody who's doing their job. Well, hey, they said that because your house smelled like smoke and we couldn't sell the house. Like, you got offended because he said don't smoke in your house. It's not a bad agent. He's smart, right? He's trying to
Right.
sell your
Right. Yeah.
house. And that's a very small example, but that happens. Like, what did they do that upset you, right? And then I try to set the groundwork on how we can improve on that, or if that's the case, it is. Maybe I can explain it a little better, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's crazy. Crazy. I think you should definitely at least see two, three options out there, and then make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of crazy statistics, this is one I want to know your opinion on for sure. So,
All right, this is the one I was
39%.
another one I was crazy about, right?
Yeah, yeah. 39% of sellers use the same agent to purchase a home as they did to sell their home, which is less than half, which I have to ask you from your perspective. Why do you feel like more than half, I should say, more than half of sellers are switching their agents when they decide to buy again?
Well, mine don't. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, there you go. Good answer. Good
I
answer.
have a very that's a very I have a very high percentage on that.
There you go. Right.
But I think it's a lot of things, right? Lack of follow up, Again, newer agents in
Mm.
this business, they don't ask the right questions, right?
Yeah.
It's like, did you ask them what they were doing next? No, they already found. They talked to the listing agent. Like, you have to ask questions. You have to understand what these people are trying to accomplish, and whether it's they've done a poor job, or kind of like going back to what we said before, is you didn't do an interview process very well, and
Right.
you weren't a good fit. You got through the transaction, and you're just like, okay, thank gosh this is over. I'm going to find a new agent and work with somebody better, because I think it might be the lack of, it kind of feeds off of what we talked about before, is I didn't do a very good job interviewing the person. They didn't take in consideration what my needs were. And
Mm.
but again, from the jump, I'm going to lay it out on the table exactly what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to know exactly what you want to do, and I tell my clients right away, you're either going to like it or love it, but I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I'm not going to let you buy a house that I don't feel is going to work for you. Because I say this to all of my clients: when you call me in 5 or 6 years to sell this house, my job is already hard enough as it is. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
make it harder by
Mm-hmm.
putting you
Mm-hmm.
upside down in a house, or selling you a house that I know is going to have issues down the road. And I want your business. I want your
Yeah.
mom's business. I want your dad's business. I want all your kids as they get older. I want them to help them as first time home buyers. So I just want to put you in a good position, a good financial position, so that you can gain that equity and move on to the next house.
Yes, because as of the last couple years, pandemic, post-pandemic, or even during the pandemic, we've heard a lot of people having buyer's remorse from these homes, and that's
For
mainly
sure.
up to them because they chose to waive the inspection or
Right.
the appraisal and things of that, or they chose to pay way over list price and things of that nature. So now you either have lawsuits or you just have people just completely unhappy
Yeah.
or want to quickly sell again, and
I
it's
if
just
you did you
like.
bring up wave? I didn't get a chance to watch the podcast yet. I don't know if it's out, but did you get a chance to? Did you bring up wave and inspections with Jennifer Tate?
I believe so, if I'm
That's a
not
hot button
mistaken.
for her, boy. She don't let
Yeah,
any of our agents do that here, because
yeah,
she knows, man. She
yeah.
knows it's crazy. It's absolutely
Very,
crazy. And then
very.
the market got really insane last summer and the summer before. But again, like you just got to make sure you put your buyers in a great situation. So then 4 or 5 years down the road, or even sometimes two, whatever it is, that they're in a good position so they can sell again, and they're going to call us.
Yeah, that's like buying a used car just based off the picture and not even just test driving. They're like, all right, here's the money, give me the keys. And like a
So
week later, it breaks down. What did
I
you
was
expect?
I was at the golf show last week, and I wouldn't even buy a driver without hitting it first. There wasn't a bay
Man,
for me to
I
hit.
mean,
I don't care if I
seriously.
save $200 on the driver. I'm going to Carl's, man. I'm gonna overpay.
Facts, bro.
I don't
Facts.
want to
I'm
show
like,
up. I don't want to show up to my golf course with some Yankee little driver that I can't hit. Right? I gotta test
man,
it out, man. But that's a
seriously.
great point.
Hey, to each his own, but yes, please. Let's say this one more time. Please do the inspection. Do not waive the inspection or appraisal. Please,
Yeah,
please, please, please. All right.
for sure, for sure.
All right, Dan. Brad, sorry about that. So, Brad, let's clear out the air. Let's talk about something that people may often misunderstand about you. How do you address that misunderstanding?
Hmm. Something that people misunderstand about me. I'm not sure. I don't know. That's a great question. I think I do a very good job of presenting myself on social media just the way I am. So I
Okay.
don't think that the perception of I'm pretty true. People know what I'm about, and I I love to have fun. I love to meet people. I'm a huge Lions fan, which I
Oh
get
yeah, let's
razzed
talk
for
about it.
all the time.
Come on, come with it, then.
So
Tell them to come with
so
it.
like I put everything out there exactly the way I feel. So I don't think that the perception is. I think that I'm pretty real, and I was
That's
taught at a
fair.
very young age in this business that if you put out there exactly who you are, you're going to attract the people that are going to work with you best. And if they don't like you, chances are you guys wouldn't have got along at all. So
Hmm.
I think I do a very good job of just being real, whether it's something goofy I post on social media, whether it's something I say in a video. But everything that I put on social media is 100% exactly my personality and who I am as a person. And I think that allows people to understand exactly who it is, who I am, and what I represent.
There it is. Great landing, man.
Yep.
Appreciate that, Brad. Thank you again for being here on the closing table. Before we
Yeah.
go, need you to do me a favor. If you have any last words and or you want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, please do so now.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on any social media platform that's out there right now. It's Your Agent Brad. Um, I work together with my wife and my son Christian and his best friend Christian. So I work with the Christians. So all four of us together, we love working with families. We love helping people find their dream home. So if you ever need anything in this real estate business, whether it's questions or anything, feel free to reach out to us. But you can find me pretty much anywhere. And I make that my point is social media is my biggest platform. And Kevin, I can't even thank you enough for allowing me to be on the show. And I know you've had some great agents. I love the new pod out here right now, and
Thanks, man.
your atmosphere and your energy is great. So, like I said, there's some great agents that you've had on here, and there's a lot of really good agents. But like Kevin said, man, interview 2 or 3 of them. Find one that's a good fit for you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I didn't know. I thought just my mom was watching the podcast, but
It's
I
me
know
and your
2
mom.
people. Yeah. Man, thank you so much for joining the closing table, Brad.
Yeah.
Hey,
Awesome.
you right there watching on YouTube, we need you to do us a favor. Hit the like button if you got this favor, if you got this far. You see my thumb, hit that like button. Also hit the share button and subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, any other podcast platforms, please do the same thing. Like, 5-star rating, and also subscribe for the latest content. Brad, I'd like to leave the audience with a question before I get out of here.
Yeah.
This is for you, audience. Would you use the same agent that you bought your house with to sell your home? Why or why not? Leave your comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.